Because he felt he had the face of a groundhog and was the world's unluckiest man, Sang-man, completely fed up with life, decided to end his own. So he stuffed an entire bottle of sleeping pills into his mouth. But there were too many pills, making them incredibly hard to swallow. And of course, the water kettle beside him just had to be empty. In his frustration, he shoved the water faucet directly into his mouth. Then he felt the world spin and collapsed onto the ground. Just then, the building manager coincidentally came by and saved him in time. But not giving up, he then decided to jump off a bridge. However, firefighters happened to be conducting a drill nearby and fished him out. After that, he woke up in the hospital. Just as he was lamenting why even dying was so difficult, he saw a stubble-faced man next to him, casually smoking.
병원에서는 금연인 걸로 압니다.
But the man ignored his reminder. Just then, a nurse walked towards him, took the cigarette directly from his hand. But just as this fool was still wondering why the cigarette ash mysteriously appeared in his own hand, the medical staff were already preparing to move him to a ward. He then strangely asked the nurse,
근데 이분도 꼭 같이 가야 되나요?
But the medical staff couldn't see the man on the hospital bed at all. So he was suspected of having a mental illness and was taken to the psychiatric ward. When the psychiatrist asked him why he attempted suicide, he said, sad and melancholic, that his life was too tiring. But strangely, no matter how much he wanted to die, he just couldn't. The doctor then asked if anyone had encouraged him to commit suicide. At this, he immediately turned his head to look beside him.
아니요. 병원에서 처음 만난 분인데요, 뭐.
Just as the doctor was deeply puzzled by his strange behavior, he then heard a faint crying sound coming from the room.
우는 소리는 누구죠?
At this point, the doctor began to suspect he had dissociative identity disorder. But the next second, he stood up and walked directly to the closet.
여기서 뭐 하시는 거예요?
미안해요. 여기서 울고 있어서 미안해요.
이 사람 왜 여기서 울고 있는 거예요?
Realizing this was beyond a simple act, the doctor concluded he was mentally ill and quickly signaled for assistance.
진정하세요. 저 여자 계속 저렇게 놔둘 거예요? 어딜 만지는 거야? 나오세요. 거기서 그러고 있지 마시고 나오시라고요.
In the end, he and the two people he saw are pushed into the ward together. But when he gets up late at night to use the restroom, he sees an old man squatting strangely on the nurse's station desk. As he cautiously moves closer, it turns out the creepy old man is pestering the female nurse. But in the next second, the old man's head suddenly inflates like a balloon. Terrified, he quickly scrambles back to the safety of his ward. But unexpectedly, just as he bursts back into the room, he sees three more large-headed ghosts floating ominously above him.
사람이 아니신가 봐요. 그런 분들이 저한테 무슨 볼일이 있으셨어요?
우리 오늘부로 너랑 몸 같이 쓰게 된 사람이야?
At this point, Sang-man, the world's unluckiest guy, was utterly depressed from his many failed attempts to die. To make matters worse, he had now attracted three wandering spirits, who all wanted to borrow his body. The sheer exhaustion was too much, and he collapsed onto the ground. But when he woke up the next day, he was shocked to find that a fourth ghost, a small child, had joined the group.
저기 애는
The doctor and nurse looked strangely in the direction he was pointing, but the empty corner had no one in it. At this point, Sangman finally realized that only he could see these 4 wandering spirits. After he was discharged from the hospital, the 4 ghosts followed him like shadows, never leaving his side. No matter where he went or what he wanted to do, they were constantly clinging to him. Piled up like a human pyramid, sticking to the unlucky man's back. Although others couldn't see them, Sangman was tormented to the point of tears. His mouth, perpetually open, looked like it was making its last gasp for survival. And what made Sangman's life even more miserable was that they had actually begun to possess his body. The stubble-faced uncle started using Sangman's body to smoke to his heart's content, burning through hundreds of cigarettes a day. The creepy old man would use Sangman's body to drink heartily, downing more than a dozen bottles a day. Even worse, after getting drunk, he would use the balcony to relieve himself anywhere. What was most hateful was that he would also take the opportunity to harass the neighbor.
지금 뭐 하는 거예요?
와.
돌았나 지금? 뭐 어딜 봐?
And the little boy would possess Sangman's body to eat countless snacks every day, until Sangman was left throwing up with an upset stomach. Finally, there was the crying auntie. Luckily, she didn't seem to have any unhealthy hobbies, but she was incredibly sentimental, and her tears flowed like a river. Every day, she would possess him to complain and cry with a group of other women, making Sangman shed what felt like kilograms of tears. The only silver lining was that his building manager was moved and reduced his rent. But this crying auntie had another stranger hobby. She would lie by Sangman's side at night and just watch him quietly. Her eyes seemed to hold a deep, motherly affection. Just as Sangman was physically and mentally exhausted from their torment, he finally reached his breaking point and blew up at the 4 ghosts.
당신들 뭐야?
난 한번 써봐야 되는데 이거.
나 건강 생각하던 사람이야. 어? 혼자 살려면 몸뚱이가 얼마나 건강해야 되는지 알아? 당신들은 제사상 차려주는 사람들도 없어? 왜 나한테 와서 이래? 내가 우스워? 재수없어 진짜!
Sangman could never understand why, when his life was already so hard, so lonely, and so painful, the heavens would still send 4 wandering spirits to his side and let them bully him so unscrupulously. In desperation, he went to see a shaman, and the shaman told him that perhaps the 4 spirits had unfinished business on Earth. So Sangman proposed a deal. If they had any lingering grudges or wishes from before they died, he would lend them his body to resolve all their troubles, as long as they would finally leave his already pitiful self alone. As expected, the 4 spirits readily agreed. First up was the pervert ghost. His final wish was to return a camera he borrowed from an old friend before he died. But Sangman took him to all the camera stores in town, and they could never find the right model. The old man insisted it wasn't about buying a new one, but finding the person with that specific camera. It turned out, that person was a police officer. He led Sangman directly to the police station, but that police officer refused to admit he ever took the camera. He even locked Sangman up for obstructing official duties. At this moment, the old man began to possess him.
사랑만으로는 안 되는 거야. 그지? 참 애틋했었는데 그 카메라 팔려고 하다가 사귀던 여자한테 잘 보이려고 안 팔았잖아. 결혼은 딴 여자랑 할 거면서 괜히.
누구예요?
카메라 진짜 안 줄 거지? 그 여자가 이름이 뭐였더라?
It wasn't until the officer's secrets were exposed that he finally agreed to return the camera. At this time, the camera's original owner was living in a nursing home. The old man then possessed Sangman's body to find him, sharing a drink and chatting with him. Although the camera's owner didn't recognize the young man before him, he could still feel the long-lost affection of an old friend. But at this moment, A pretty nurse with delicate features walked over and reminded the camera's owner that drinking was not allowed during his stay. And Sang-man, who had never known what love at first sight felt like, fell for her in that instant. Just then, the old man possessed him again, revealing his perverted side.
Oh, grace, grace, got lost trying to follow you, but you could see you had no God. I'm trying to be
아까부터
the
자꾸
one who
이쪽
keeps you
쳐다보시던데.
together when you fall
나
apart.
보는 거요? 아니면 저 늙은 환자 보는 거요?
네?
I don't mind if I do
아이고, 한번 쳐다봐 주지 그러셨어. 그쪽 눈빛이라면 염통이 터지는 한이 있어도 내 감내하겠소.
I'm in pain, but then again, I was misguided when I followed you. The way I'm dying was self-induced. You like it when I chase after you. I should have asked her before I was captured. Oh, grace.
날도 좋은데 다방 가서 쌍화차 한 잔 어떻소? 계란도 하나 동동 띄우고.
It was a massive scene of social suicide, but thankfully, the old man's final wish was successfully fulfilled. Next up was the wish of the little wandering spirit. His desire was surprisingly simple. He just wanted to watch an animated movie. At the cinema, he unexpectedly runs into the nurse, Yeon-soo, who was there with her younger brother. Overjoyed, Sang-man happily goes over to greet her. Meanwhile, the little ghost was staring at the lollipop in her brother's hand, drooling with childlike desire.
저기 요즘은 그런 거 얼마나 해?
네?
10원에 10개 정도 하나?
1,200원에 한 개요.
After the movie started, Sang-man laughed so hard he couldn't close his mouth. His innocent smile seemed to instantly wash away all his weariness. It was as if all the world's troubles could dissipate in that one, pure smile. After the movie was over, the little ghost, while Yeon-soo was in the restroom, naughtily tricked her brother out of all the candy in his pocket. Afterward, they all went to a noodle restaurant together. But the little ghost's appetite was truly astonishing. He possessed Sang-man and forced him to finish 10 large bowls of noodles.
아저씨 한 그릇 더 먹을 수 있어요?
장난쳐? 나 3그릇도 더 먹을 수 있어?
와, 아저씨 진짜 짱이다.
여기 한 그릇 더?
After their meal, they find a street vendor with a prize drawing game for candy. And with the little ghost's supernatural help, Sang-man easily wins the grand prize. It was a supersized fish-shaped candy. Sang-man, however, wanted to give it to Yeon-soo's little brother. But the little ghost immediately started arguing with him, not wanting to share. Of course, in Yeon-soo's eyes, he was simply talking to the air.
그냥 드세요. 저흰 됐어요.
아니.
And just like that, the little ghost's wish was fulfilled. Next up was the stubble-faced smoker uncle. His wish was for Sang-man to find him a car. But he wasn't looking for just any valuable car, but rather an old, dilapidated yellow taxi. Although they found the car after much difficulty, Sang-man didn't have a driver's license and couldn't drive. Just then, the smoker uncle possessed Sang-man's body, drove the car, and took him on a trip to the seaside. Although Sang-man didn't know why the uncle brought him here, for him, seeing the ocean for the first time, it no longer seemed to matter. Then, the smoker uncle began to take off his clothes to take him swimming. But Sang-man, while refusing, revealed his deep fear of the water. He was still possessed by the uncle and dragged into the sea. He struggled constantly in the water, but the uncle just laughed, telling him to be brave and face his fears directly. After hearing the uncle's words, Sang-man was struck by a very strange feeling, because this was the first time someone had ever taught him to swim, and the first time someone had taught him how to face his difficulties. At that moment, the other 3 spirits appeared at the seaside. accompanied by the gentle sea breeze and the warm sunset, and mixed with a newfound hint of warmth. Time itself seemed to slow down in this moment. In this moment, they were like a true, loving family. This sudden sense of happiness gave Sang-man a warmth he had never felt before. Because he had been an orphan his entire life, yet now his world was suddenly filled with laughter and joy. And for the first time in a long time, Sang-man showed a genuine smile. He felt the warmth of having company, even if that company was just 4 wandering ghosts. But as the 5 of them huddled together, sharing a piece of candy, the atmosphere was sweet enough for everyone. The next day, the smoker uncle took Sang-man for another drive. But while driving, he casually threw a cigarette butt out the window and was stopped by the police. However, in the police officer's eyes, only Sang-man was in the car.
방금 창밖으로 담배 꽁초 버리셨죠?
아이고, 수고가 많으십니다.
운전면허증 제시해 주세요.
아, 면허증이요? 예. 전 면허증 없는데요.
So, Sang-man was taken to the police station for driving without a license. There, a frustrated Sang-man just wanted to have a quiet cigarette, but the smoker ghost beside him kept playfully blowing it out.
저거 되게 제정신 아니다.
그거 보호자 부르려니까 지금 뭐 하는 겁니까?
뭐 말하면 압니까?
근데 그 나이 먹도록 왜 면허가 없어요?
아, 면허 있습니다. 저 택시기사 한 사람이에요. 그것도 개인 택시. 웰컴 게스트. 굿바이. 사요나라.
The uncle's constant possession finally made Sang-man furious. He began to throw a huge tantrum at the empty air. This only made the police more convinced that he was mentally unstable, so they required him to call a guardian before he could be released. With no other choice, Sang-man could only think of the nurse, Yeon-soo. But as night fell, Yeon-soo still hadn't arrived. And in that moment, the feeling of loneliness and loss, of having no family or support, hit Sang-man's heart like a flood.
외롭거든. 남들도 외롭겠지 위안하면서 살았는데 막상 이런 날이 돼보면 다들 너무 행복해 보이는 거야. 그러면 생각을 해. 아, 나만 이 모양으로 살고 있었구나. 내 인생만 이 꼬라지인 게 맞구나. 나는 그냥 노력한 만큼 돈 벌고 좋아하는 여자 만나서 결혼하고 애새끼 한둘 낳아서 힘들어도 가족이랍시고 지지고 볶고 사는 거, 그게 꿈인데. 근데 가족이 원래 없었던 새끼한테는 그런 기회도 안 오더라. 고아라고 욕먹을까봐 진짜 열심히 살았는데.
Just then, Yeon-soo arrived at the police station. Upon hearing Sang-man's painful, lonely confession, she was deeply touched. So she walked straight over and gently pressed her head against Sang-man's chest. Perhaps at this moment, having someone get close to his heart to listen was the only way to touch the soul of such a lonely person, giving him the courage to continue living. On the bus ride back, Sang-man felt that simple gesture had truly made him feel very warm. So, to express his gratitude, he also pressed his head directly against Yeon-soo's chest. But this startled Yeon-soo, leaving her awkwardly unsure whether to be grateful or to refuse. However, her relationship with Sang-man had still taken a step forward, but his task of sending off the 4 spirits had to continue. Now only the last wish remained, the wish of the crying auntie. The auntie's wish was to cook a table full of food for her loved one. When Sang-man asked which relative he needed to find for her, she simply began to cry her heart out again.
빨리 대답 못해서 미안해. 그냥 저희끼리 먹을까요?
그랬다가 나중에 딴소리 말고 제대로 얘기해요.
아, 아니요. 그냥 우리끼리 먹어요, 저녁.
So the crying ghost led Sang-man to the market to buy groceries. While shopping, the auntie held his arm the whole time and would occasionally possess him to haggle with the vendors, looking incredibly happy. She also possessed Sang-man to cook a huge feast. And Sang-man also invited Yeon-soo over. This table of 4 ghosts and 2 people somehow felt like a real family. It made Sang-man feel a happiness and warmth he had never known before. But during the entire meal, Sang-man behaved very strangely. Because when the pervert ghost possessed him, he was like a flirtatious ladies' man. When the smoker ghost possessed him, he transformed into a greasy uncle. But when the little boy possessed him, he became naive and innocent again. Only when the crying auntie possessed him would he lovingly put food on Yeon-soo's plate. And because Sang-man's personality was constantly and frequently changing, on top of all his previous strange behaviors, Yeon-soo, at this moment, finally decided to tell him what was on her mind.
정말 죽은 사람들이 보이는 거예요? 지금 여기도 있어요? 말을 걸 수도 있고 죽은 내 아버지도 만났다고 하고 그렇다고 생각하니까 나 너무 힘든데요. 저녁 잘 먹었어요. 가볼게요.
And just like that, a perfectly good meal was cut short. The girl he liked was clearly overwhelmed by his strange behavior. Sang-man's heart was once again pierced with pain. He couldn't understand why his life was so unlucky, and why nothing ever seemed to go right for him.
소원도 다 들어줬는데 안 가요? 초딩, 영화 봤잖아. 안 가냐? 거기 변태 내가 욕 먹어가며 카메라 찾아줬잖아. 안 가요? 어이 꼴초, 무면허인 내가 경찰서까지 들락거리며 그 정도 했으면 된 거 아니야? 안 갈 거야? 어이 울보 아줌마, 밥 잘 먹었어. 설거지는 내가 할게. 가. 소원도 다 들어줬으니까 나는 더 필요 없잖아. 이제 그만들 가줘요.
After saying his piece, Sang-man slammed the door and went into his room, leaving the 4 wandering spirits staring at each other in silence. And just like that, without their bother, Sang-man once again sank into the familiar abyss of loneliness. So, once more, he chose to commit suicide. But this time, he still did not succeed. As the smoke from the burning charcoal filled his mind, he thought of the nurse, Yeon-soo. At this moment, he finally understood that before a person dies, they think of the one they love the most. He realized that in every suicide attempt before, he had never thought of anyone. But this time was different. This time he thought of Yeon-soo. He thought of her smile, which was like the spring sun, and her tenderness, which was like gentle water. He thought of their every encounter. In the end, he still did not die. Because this time, he had an attachment to the human world. So he carefully made some kimbap and went to find Yeon-soo.
점심 안 먹었으면 이거 같이 먹어요.
While sharing the kimbap, Yeon-soo apologized for leaving so abruptly. She explained that for her, the story of a man and his ghosts was hard to comprehend. But she believed Sang-man was just deeply lonely, which made him vulnerable to these strange things. She confessed that she truly hoped Sangman could live a good life. Sangman then told Yeon-soo about his failed attempts to die, and how he never knew if it was just bad luck, or if something was holding him back. But this time, he confessed, was different. Because this time, he thought of her. From now on, he had decided to truly live. And hearing this, Yeon-soo beamed with a bright, hopeful smile, and a gentle affection began to blossom between the two of them.
어제부터 신기했는데 보통은 김밥에 시금치를 넣잖아요. 근데 성만 씨는 미나리를 넣네요.
아, 그거요? 그거 우리 엄마가 미나리가 피에 좋다고 늘 시금치 대신 미나리를 넣었거든요.
But as the casual words left his own mouth, Sangman suddenly froze. And there, on a park bench, the world around him went silent. The question echoed deep within his own mind. Mom. A word he had never used. A person he had never known. Because having grown up as an orphan, he had no memory of his mother whatsoever. But in that single, shattering moment, it all came flooding back. It wasn't just a memory. It was a feeling. A strange yet deeply familiar warmth that welled up from a place he didn't know existed, unleashing a tidal wave of sorrow, love, and understanding that washed over his entire soul.
미나리가 피를 맑게 해줘서 좋아.
It turned out the crying auntie was his mother. She used to love taking him to the market, holding his hand. But he had lost all memory of her for so, so long.
In a night like this, I am reflecting, finding your face once more. Can you hear my heart? It keeps pounding in my chest, and I breathe in again. Can you whisper into my ears this time? Could you stay a while? Please don't let this time slip. Please don't let it go. Please don't let it go. Could you stop this night? Don't let it stop. Time to keep it like this forever. Oh, could you stop this night? Don't let it stop. Time to keep it like this forever. In a night like this, I am reflecting, finding your face once more. Can you hear my heart? It keeps pounding in my chest, and I breathe in again. Can you whisper into my ears this time? Could you stay a while? Please don't let this time slip. Please don't let it go. Please don't let it go. Oh, could you stop this night? Don't let it stop. Time to keep it like this forever. Could you stop?
He had always longed for a family. He once said he had never lived with anyone else. He never thought the first time he'd live with others would be with 4 ghosts. But only now did he finally realize it was the long-lost love of his own flesh and blood.
상만아, 울다 웃으면 똥꼬에 털난다. 저건 두고 간다. 너 해. 형은 저런 거 유치해서 싫어. 너는 좋아하잖아, 유치한 거. 다른 애들 주지 말고 너만 가지고 놀아.
고백했냐? 여자한테 통하는 거 딴 거 없다. 진심이다.
아이, 근데 응? 우리 아들 담배 끊어라. 당신이 가르쳐준 거잖아. 당신 아니고 아빠. 저는 배우고 아빠가 운전도 가르쳐 줄게. 나 사고 안 나게 늘 옆에서 같이 운전해 줄게. 아들, 아빠 운전은 좀 짱인 듯? 알지? 알지?
미안해.
나도 같이 가면 안 돼?
엄마가 미안해. 엄마가 우리 상만이 혼자 두고 먼저 와서 미안해. 엄마가 너무 미안해. 우리 상만이 혼자인 것 같아도 엄마랑 할아버지랑 아빠랑 형아랑 다 너랑 같이 있을 거야. 살아. 알았지? 그 여자애 괜찮던데. 엄마가 싸준 김밥 맛있어해? It's all I have to give this final lie I choose to live. 나는 우리 아들이 내가 갈 때까지 못 알아볼까봐 걱정했는데 고마워. 못난 엄마 알아봐줘서 고마워. 잘 커줘서.
It wasn't just because he couldn't bear the pressures of life, but because he had no one in this world left to care about. There was no one to nag him or remind him, no one to care for him when he was sick, no one to sincerely congratulate him on his successes, no one to make him kimbap by hand, and no one to patiently teach him how to drive. Such loneliness, pain, and despair followed him like a shadow, making him often wonder why he should even live. Why should he strive to be excellent? Without the company of family and loved ones, what meaning is there in being excellent? But Sangman's family had never actually left him. In fact, they were always by his side. When he swallowed the pills, the kettle was empty because they had drunk all the water. He always believed his childhood photos were of him alone, but in every important photo of his life, the four of them were always there. Such is the boundless heart of a family. The crying auntie, his mother, because she left her son alone in this world, was always filled with an unbearable guilt. Watching her son grow up lonely, surrounded by despair, and even wanting to die, yet being unable to do anything, she could only cry and cry. In truth, while Sangman was fulfilling their wishes, it was also one last, happy time for him and his family. The camera was what his grandfather borrowed to take a picture of his grandson on his birthday. Of course, it had to be returned to its original owner. Although forever frozen as a 10-year-old boy, his older brother's wish was to fulfill his promise to take his little brother to the movies. His father's wish was for his son, who feared driving after the crash, to drive again, and to complete his promise of teaching his son to swim in the sea. And his mother's final wish was to cook one last, warm meal for him, to make up for the immense psychological trauma left by her absence. In truth, Everyone comes into this world alone, but every person who appears later in your life, whether they are your dearest loved ones or a chance encounter, are the most precious treasures bestowed by fate, because they are the ones who teach you how to love and how to be loved, to understand what it means to care and what it means to truly feel. Because your life is not just your own. The lifeline has its depths and shallows, and so life has its length. And sometimes people choose to forget all the sadness, all the disappointment, all the disasters, as a form of self-protection. Tell the story with heart. Tell the story with sincerity. I'm Pixielow, journeying with you, so we both may grow. See you in the next video.